Hello, good morning. How are you doing? I hope you are okay. How was your weekend? Mine was fine, alhamdulillah. Had a great weekend. I spent it with my family. And, I also used the opportunity to visit some of my relatives over the weekend. Sometimes it is very difficult to meet up with friends. Of course, you can be chit-chatting on the telephone, but it's important sometimes to go and face them face to face and talk to them. That will build that spirit again. So we are back again, fresh and getting ready, to conquer the whole week. And I am Ibrahim Abalde. Thank you for watching this program always. And I'm with Mr. Ade Drame. Ade, how are you?
I'm well. I had a nice, relaxing, and very weird Sunday. I decided, for some bizarre reason, I'd never been to Banjul on a Sunday.
Boring.
So, trust me,
Boring.
it was lovely. So what I did was I parked my car, and I just walked around for a couple of hours.
The streets of Hagan.
Because as I've said many times before, it reminds me of Freetown in the 1960s.
Yes, looks like it.
And the kind of same design, and of course, many similar street names, including Hagan. So yeah, it was really nice. I enjoyed it, and luckily the weather held off. I didn't need my umbrella. It was nice and pleasant. It was just relaxing. And then when I came back, watched a couple of documentaries and some football online, and that was it. Enjoyable.
That was it.
For me.
Before the beginning of this program, Mr. Momodu Mboch was talking about reading books, and you've really booked yourself over the weekend. So Mr. Mboch, tell us about your
novels. To be more specific, novels, which is slightly different. We don't do that as much.
Oh, novels.
So, novels. So that's so I finished 2 novels. Friday, Saturday didn't go out at all. Sunday, I was horizontal the whole time. The only few times I was sort of vertical was when I was eating or something. And then afterwards I was just lying down, chilling out.
Horizontal.
It was fantastic.
So you didn't have the lads with you?
No, I didn't have the lads with me.
Okay,
it was next weekend. It was sort of
Well,
to jump weekend.
Well, sometimes it's important, for you just to sit and chill at your corner, without any disturbance at some point. Maybe you do what you love doing. For me, I love watching FBI movies, FBI films. These are the things, FBI files. Cool. So I watched them, almost all the weekend. At some point I was able to go and visit some friends, but do what you love doing.
It's, one of the things that I did, I had told Mboch that I had downloaded over a previous weekend a 3-part series on Eric Williams. Former Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. He is a brilliant historian who is very much seen in Trinidad as the father of the nation. And so they had this 3-hour thing. And I'd watched the first 2 hours, but I finally got to watch the final hour, which is kind of both his time in power and his downfall. Very interesting guy, because when I was young in Sierra Leone, he actually visited several African countries. And he is the man in 1948 who came up with the term the decolonization of the mind, which then other people kind of jumped on.
Now we associated a bit more with Ngugi wa Thiong'o.
He did it in 1948, long before Ngugi. So it was interesting, just kind of, his daughter is still alive. She talked about him, and this guy, he kind of changed over time, and by the time of his death, the last 3 days, he kept insisting to his closest advisors, don't call my doctor. Refused. Even when he died, they didn't tell his family. They called the government, they called the police, they called the army. His nieces had gone out. They came back into the house. Where's our uncle? Oh, he's sleeping. He wasn't sleeping, he was dead. They went up to their bed, and then, the next morning, they started getting phone calls in the house saying, and then they went and insisted. There was a policeman standing by his study. He died in his study, sitting at his desk, which was full of all sorts of things, his books and all the artifacts he'd been given on his trips around. So I watched that, and very, very interesting.
Well, a very you know, on the way to die. I mean, in your story.
It's yeah, surrounded by
imagine
books and
imagine if a picture of you is taken in that position, it will go down to memory lane. I mean, it will go down to history.
In fact, they did take, but they didn't share the pictures in the thing because it was a kind of scene of death, and he had said he didn't want a state funeral, but his daughter. One of his daughter went against his wishes, and she said, "I'm glad I did." She said, "Because we Trinidadians, we love to make noise and party." She said, "My whole life is the first time I've seen the whole nation silent and weeping," and of course brought the country to a standstill. So he was Prime Minister for about 25 years or so. So you know, he was there for a long time, and very much a person who was associated with that change. He led the independence movement, and of course, once they got independence, he led the country. So yeah, Eric Williams.
Exactly. So you're watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Asuri Balde. Now we will take a look at the code. Today, it's not an African proverb, but it's a code. And I'll allow Mr. Ade to take us through.
To win big, you sometimes have to take big risks, I presume. Big risks.
Plural.
Yes. Rather than
RISKS.
is either that or take a big risk.
It's there.
So to win big, you sometimes have to take big risks. Yes.
It looks like it's a Bill Gates quote.
That's
the speech marks.
It's got speech marks, and it's got Bill Gates' picture.
So I suspect that it's Bill Gates' quote. That's my suspicion.
So Mr. Mboj, what's your take on this one?
Before Mr. Mboj give us his own interpretation, to win big, you sometimes have to take big risks. I mean, people will associate this to Bill Gates.
Why?
Maybe,
because they put his picture
maybe
there.
Bill Gates said it at some point, maybe one of his
that was why I said maybe.
But
See, I'm just speculating. I don't know for certain.
But this type of a code is a general code. Even the little boy from Manka Mankunda or the little boy from Sare Mansali in the Jimara district.
So what's your take on the quote itself?
Knows to win big, you need to take the biggest risk.
I'm not so sure. I'm not sure people really know.
Can I jump in?
People know that.
Can I jump in?
I'm not sure.
Yes.
So in England and in Europe, you have this thing called Euro Millions. For £2, you could win 500 million euros. That's winning big. It's not a big risk. Two euros to win 500 million euros. So I'm not sure I agree with this at all.
but again, it might say that to win big, you sometimes.
Sometimes.
So
Not,
other times.
There are other times when you don't have to.
You don't have to take big
Mr.
risks.
Mr. Ade, you talked about to win something.
Lottery.
Can you come again, please? I want to understand your perspective.
There's a thing called the Euro Millions lottery.
Yes.
And to win it, all you have to spend is €2. And you can win up to 500 million euros. For €2, you buy a lottery ticket. That's
and
not.
People
that's
have
not
been
a
winning.
big. That's not. Yes,
People
of course,
do win.
People win it.
Absolutely.
But
yes.
That's not a big risk.
sometimes
That's why Mr. Mboj stepped in and said sometimes.
defends that. You understand?
You're not listening. That's
Yes,
exactly what Mboj said.
Yes, I heard what he said.
No, because he's already said
Why
it.
repeat
So why
I
are you
heard
repeating
what
it?
he said.
Why are you repeating
No,
what
we
he
just
said?
want it to be clear. We
No,
want
no,
to
no.
put the message across so that it can be clear. Yeah, so Mr. Mboj, what's your interpretation?
This is what we said. It's just so banal. Yes, sometimes I have to take certain risks to make certain gains. I'm not sure what else one can say about that, unless we come to, okay, actually, what do we mean by risks? Obviously, it depends on what area you are in.
Yes.
You know, that would determine what a risk is.
Yes.
But a risk, all of them, would imply that you might lose.
Yeah,
You've got faith in something. That's really what the whole thing is.
Yeah.
You may go into an adventure, or whatever, but again, maybe put in your own money. Maybe I'm putting in, I don't know, 500,000, but I'm promised about 5 or 6 million.
That's right. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yes.
So with that 500,000, I'm taking a risk there because I may end up with, I don't know, 100,000 or perhaps zero. I don't know. So stuff like that.
Yes, but and also in the world, you know, You might decide that you want to try and conquer Mount Everest, for example. Many people have taken the ultimate risk. They have lost their lives trying to conquer the world's highest mountain. So that's a big risk. But if you achieve it, you become one of the few who have done it, and you become world famous. So, you know, some people, they know that people have tried and died, but they attempt
still
it.
have to take the risk.
And then if we come to our own setting, we talk all the time about people going on this backway journey. You take the biggest risk. When you leave, there is no guarantee that that rickety boat you're getting on will get to your ultimate destination. I think it was only on Thursday's newspapers there was a thing about how many Gambians had died and some had been rescued. We hear that every week. In fact, somebody was criticizing the president, saying that he didn't mention one particular incident at his UN speech. And I thought, why should he mention a single incident when we have these happening every single week? It would seem odd. What's so special about that one? Yes, any loss of life to that extent is terrible. But why in a UN speech would you mention just a single one? They mentioned one of Bakau, which they said he should have mentioned it. And people were agreeing with the guy who wrote it. And I replied on Facebook. I said, what's different or special? If he had mentioned the general loss of life that we see and hear about, then that would make sense, but not a single incident that had happened that week or the week before.
And I think he touched on migration.
On migration,
generally.
yeah,
of course
he did.
You don't expect him. You know, this is the UN General Assembly.
Sure.
You've got what, only 15 minutes.
That's right.
So there are
Although
certain things.
Netanyahu had
it's got its
36.
own format. So that's just demotic talk, which I just tend to dismiss. I have to be honest with you.
But
All right.
So sometimes you take big risks.
Very
I think there's
significant.
sometimes just about swings it.
In fact, are risk takers the most successful? That's a question.
That's a difficult one.
It's a factual question you're asking. We don't
quite.
have the facts. Unless you're
really
going to have somebody's done the study.
There are some people who have been successful and they've not taken any risk. They've just done something and they've succeeded.
It works for them.
It works for them. There are others who have taken a huge leap of faith into something that's innovative, that nobody's tried before, and it's worked. And that is a risk. And so sometimes entrepreneurs, you'll hear, they talk about, yes, I'm successful now, but I had 10 failures along the way, but it didn't stop me being a risk taker. I still took a risk. I took a chance, hoping this would succeed. And it, you know, for a lot of people, when they become successful, people imagine that everything they touch turns to gold, but it's not usually the case.
Guys,
they have things that sometimes fail.
Some people do say that success is a lot more contingent than we think. You see, we tend to think that we did it all. There was a formula, and, you know, our good sense, as it were. But no, in every success, there's this X factor, luck.
Yeah.
Quite interesting. Fortuna.
Luck, chance.
Very, you know, complex area. So it's not.
But it's an interesting question that you asked.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's important. There are other situations. Only taking risk, you know, can determine whether you will be successful or not.
Let me give you an example from last week's European football. Eric Ten Hag sent on, they needed goals. He didn't send on a striker. He sent on Harry Maguire, a defender. And if you watched BBC, ITV, both on the TV and on the online, people were saying this guy's lost his mind. Guess what? Harry Maguire, the defender, scored the equalizer that saved his job, probably. So that was a risk.
That was a risk.
Because had they lost, I think he would have been sacked that night.
A very sensitive,
So
very close risk.
So that's a risk.
A risk that can cost you
your job.
Everything. But guys, look, at some point,
this is the point about risks.
At some point, you might be taking risk. But even if there is failure, at some point you've also learned your failure. So there is still a win-win situation.
A bitter lesson. Because if you take a risk and like in that game, as I said, I'm convinced had they lost that match, he would have been sacked. And so it was quite a risk. I mean, everybody, the commentators were going mad in the studio. This guy has lost his mind. What is he doing? He needs goals. Why is he sending on a defender? They're not trying to defend a lead or anything. They need to score.
Mm-hmm. Defender,
and one of the defenders scored.
Defender or the goalkeeper. I watched a game whereby it was a free kick and the goalkeeper from the other end scored the goal.
Oh no, there are goalkeepers who have quite excellent records. I think there's a goalkeeper from Mexico who has the international goalkeeper, in fact. He's got the record for the most number of goals scored by a goalkeeper, and many of them were free kicks. And then you remember the Dutch manager for once Van Gaal in the World Cup. They went to penalties and everybody thought, what's he doing? He took off his goalkeeper who had played the whole match until the penalty shootout, and he brought on another goalkeeper who saved 3 penalties and they won that match. Big risk.
Interesting. Risk.
Yeah.
Let's be risk takers.
Yeah.
But genuine risk. You understand?
Yeah.
There are risks that are, I mean, that doesn't even make sense.
So there are fake risks?
You cannot even take all the risks.
A risk is a risk.
Obviously, Mr. Mboj.
A risk is
all
a
right,
risk.
okay, you know, if I do this, obviously there is no way. Or I am going to lose my life at some point when I do this.
Do you think the people think like that? Knowing that when I do this, there's no way that I'm going to succeed. Yet, why would I do it?
Yeah, quite.
That is so irrational. I wouldn't know how to discuss it.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Balde.
like the thing we keep bringing up, this kind of back way thing. People know that people drown every week.
Yes.
It does not stop people thinking, I will be the one who will not drown. That's the biggest risk you can take with your life.
What we heard from that advocacy, the person from the advocacy group said that you've got what, 5%
5% chance.
Can you imagine?
That is the slimmest of chances.
Honest
And
to
yet
God.
people take that
And
risk.
people still take that risk.
You know, that keeps ringing a bell in my head all the time. 5% chance. All the time. I think even if I'm at home, it comes to yeah, so viewers will take a short break. After the break, then we will delve into some of the stories on the newspapers. We'll be right back after the break.
indi leen suñ mobile phone yu bees yii ànd ak jamono Q-Smart ak Q-Smart Plus njëg bi yomba na caméra bi set na mobile bi gaaw na te it batterie bi baax na Q-Smart screen bi 5.9 inch la mobile bi njëg bi ñetti junne ñeneenti téeméer rek mobile bi dina ànd ak loolu di 15 gigabyte data téeméer ak ñaar fukki minute yoo xam ne dang si waxtaan si num la neexee ñetti téeméeri SMS te doo fay dara gën koo yaatal Q-Smart Plus screen bi 6.5 inch la mobile bi gaaw na ànd ak batterie bu baax njëg bi ñeneenti junne rek la te it mu ànd ak loolu di 30 gigabyte data téeméer ak ñaar fukki minute waxtaan si num la neexee ak ñetti téeméeri SMS free bondu lii dinañ la ko xaajal si diiri ñetti weer demal léegi si suñ QCell Customer Care Center yi si réew mi pour am si lu leer koolal QCell Customer Care si 111 QCell suñu bos ñoo xaali yoon bi ñeneen toppa lii dafa ànd ak sarta yuñ tëral.
Thank you very much. We are back again. And you are watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Suri Balde. Now we'll take a look at some of the stories making headlines. Please, if you're just tuning in, you know that's the right channel to tune. And we have the foreign newspaper. Drivers complain about Serekunda Road. Serekunda Road marked by potholes.
Actually, about Sukuta Serekunda Road,
yes.
marked by potholes. That's
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we have it there on the screen. There are several roads that are marked by potholes and marred by potholes. You know, if you know, with recent changes, if you live in kind of Greater Banjul, we all talk and we sing the praises of the Bertil Harding Highway, and you know what a change and a difference it's made to our lives in terms of. But once you drive off to some of the side roads that feed into that, they're quite atrocious actually. If somebody is driving from Manjai to come and connect to Kairaba Avenue, for example, at night I never use that road because the potholes are so many and so deep. It's what one American guy who did a series of videos around Africa said. He started calling it the African massage. He said because your body, you're in the car and you're just doing all this rocking, and these are roads that they're not in some rural areas, they're in urban areas, in the cities and so on. And there are far too many of them,
well,
and that's just one
you
of
know,
several. They could have named any.
When we talk about, you know, trying to eradicate poverty at some point, you know, there are many things that are interconnecting these things. Mr. Ade, now you got your car, you keep driving on roads that are, you know,
Bad.
overtaken by potholes. At some point, you know, it will affect your vehicle, you know, and you know, you have to spend money to make some changes.
I had to do exactly that just last week.
Yeah, so you can see.
When my car went into a pothole and the bar that was holding up the tank dropped.
It will.
And it was people were flashing me. I'm thinking, why are they flashing me? And I heard this weird noise. And
you have to stop.
Stop. And then eventually I looked under and there it was dragging on. And again, because you go into
Potholes
these
up and down.
potholes.
You know,
and some of them are deep.
Sometimes these roads are constructed. You know, I tend to think, okay, these people, are they giving us the quality, you know, basalt?
You don't need to ask that question. We know they are not.
You know?
I mean, the one in Manjai, they fix it every year. And the layer is so thin that every time it rains, it washes away. And if you leave from the Manjai police station, that road that would connect you to come over the bridge and then get to Kairaba Avenue, that road is atrocious for the last 6 years.
And that road has been fixed not long ago.
They patch it all the time, but it's so thin that you can see. And the depth of the potholes is about that deep. And imagine your car goes into that, and not just one or two, several. It is shocking.
So I think it's important for us to look at quality sometimes. You know, for once, let us try we invest the money that is set aside for this roads project, you know, into those roads so that we can avoid day in, day out problems. Sometimes it's costing us a lot, Mr. Mboj, for people who drive. 1 or 2 days you are at the mechanic shop, you know, to maintenance your vehicle. That money can do a lot of things for you at home.
Right.
Obviously, Mr. Balde. Balde, I don't know. We have a crisis of some sort, don't we, in public service? How do you have to run our public services? Whoever contracted the people who make our roads, we know how some of these things go, really. We are always given sort of the suboptimal options and that sort of thing. When we were younger, you had the PWD, Public Works Department,
we had them in Sierra Leone,
all the repairs, the maintenance. But we've long said we really cannot do maintenance. Go anywhere, any area. Most roads really have potholes. Very few roads are okay. This is the issue. Very few roads are okay. So many roads. That's what you get potholes all the time. Whose responsibility is it to take care of that? Do we know? Is it going to be the local government? Is it central government? We know that generally for main roads, highways, that's central government. For others, you know,
council.
That's council. How much money are they getting? So organizationally, things are not efficient. Things are not effective. So we'll go on having potholes for God knows how long.
You know, if they said to us, you have to pay a higher fee for better roads, I suspect people will complain. We want to have our cake and eat it. We want everything both ways. If we knew that paying that extra would get us the better roads, we probably would complain, but we'd pay it. But then there's still no guarantee that we pay more, we'll get better roads. You know, There's a kind of tax that you have to pay to get the roads fixed, to get the revenue to fix the roads, on top of what you already pay. If we knew, okay, I'll pay this extra, maybe, I don't know, $5 a week or something, it's not going to break anybody. But if you see the number of cars, if everybody paid that, and we knew that money was going to go into fixing the roads, we would pay it. But we would pay the money, and we would still not get a guarantee that the roads are going to be fixed. They're quite terrible. They're dreadful. And as somebody who lives on one of the roads that runs parallel to Bertil Harding, since they fixed Bertil Harding and they promised us they were going to come and fix those roads, they're not. I mean, it's like you're driving through these, rallies that you used to see in South Africa and East Africa, where cars are just driving through mud every time it rains. They're really, really quite terrible. They've just been left to kind of fester, and they've not been touched.
Well, this is 21st century. I mean, at some point, development should surpass, getting roads with a lot of potholes. Maintaining in there. In fact, Mr. Ade, if there are potholes, filling the potholes is not a very good thing to do. Because that's always a temporary measure. They fill them in, and then when it rains, they become unfilled. It's not. If you filled them and there was something substantial that you were filling them with, then we would all. I remember the first time I drove Manjai and I saw them filling the pot. Oh, and I remember I came to work that day. I said, "Oh, they filled all the potholes on that Manjai," and the guys in the office were like, "You wait till the rain season." And sure enough, and surprisingly,
they might as well have not.
There
been
are
filled.
boys sometimes that take up the challenge and use wheelbarrows and start filling the potholes.
Yes.
But when you pass,
money.
you give them some money. Mr. Ade, do you think it's advisable to be giving them money?
No, I give them money sometimes because that little that they have done can make a difference sometimes. In some places where it is particularly bad, these guys with their wheelbarrows have filled in the holes, and it just for those few yards, it does make a difference. And sometimes the holes that they filled are quite deep, and you're grateful to them. So yes, I do give them money. I mean, I have no qualms about that. And it's not huge amounts.
Yeah.
It's just,
Let's move to education. We've seen WAEC released the grade 9 results, and surprisingly in the Gambia, many people perform very well. We've seen people sharing results of their relatives, family members. But a headline on the Fourier newspaper is saying private schools outperform public schools in 2020 for Gabeke examination.
They always do.
Yes.
This time it is a bit stark because of the ones that got the aggregate 6, which is the best you can get. 62% of them were from private schools and 38% from government-funded schools. So that's quite a gap. And myself and colleague Gajaga, who we will be talking to later, we discussed this on the weekend review. And I said that one of the things I noticed since I started coming regularly, and came in 2018, and I was one of those involved in an education conference, was the stark difference that I noticed when I went to the government schools and, both, I mean, in both sets of schools, okay, here, if you attend school here, the language of instruction is English, okay, and yet the children who went to the private schools, not only was their command of English better, so was the command of English of their teachers. Some of the teachers that I spoke to who were supposedly English teachers, I would not send my enemy's child to be taught by those people, because if that is the person teaching English, that's just one. It's not everything. And Gambians are quite good linguists. Almost everybody in our office speaks multiple local languages. English is just another language. We shouldn't see it as difficult and put in our minds that it's difficult. If you have a facility for learning languages, you can probably learn any language, from Portuguese to Spanish to English. But people have this block when it comes to English. And as I said, if we have poor teachers, then you get poor results. So that's just one that I observed. But across the board, my fear is that 10 or 15 years from now, you'll go to an office, government or private sector, all the bosses will be privately educated, and all the underlings, all the people they're bossing over, are people who went to state schools. That's a dangerous situation.
Well,
I think about
Mr.
maybe
Mboj,
some more than 5 years or so ago, program with James Bahum. I remember he using the phrase educational apartheid. We've long known that. That's really what's going on here. People with a little bit of money, you send your kids to private schools. That's really better for you, or you send them abroad. The public schools, I do not know, maybe is it the pay, but the quality of teachers. They really shouldn't be there. They should be upgraded. Something must be done. They're really not very good. We are selling our kids short, as it were, really. For people who don't have money, let's be careful here.
Yeah,
Just for really the ordinary folk who don't have money, so they have to send their kids to public schools. But they're being sold short, really. When I hear the teachers' union making all sorts of noise about pay and all the rest of it, I said you should be very worried about the quality you're giving us. So we shouldn't really play games here.
Because
really.
Are they being assessed?
That's it.
You know, we're talking about the roads and how bad they are. Those people who are responsible for these roads, do they have annual reports at the end of the year? And if so, what do their managers say to them? You're responsible for road X, Y, Z. I've just driven on them and they're dreadful. They're full of potholes. Why is that? I don't think that happens. There's no sanction. There's no comeback. The roads will be rubbish this year. They'll be rubbish next year and the year after. And it's the same with the teaching. If we don't recruit quality teachers, then we will not get quality results.
Well, I think it's the energy that they put into the education. People have this notion that the private schools, are the schools that pay very well, so they would be able to treat some of these children, the treatment they deserve. Surprisingly, you will know, some of these teachers that teach at the public school, they are the ones going to the private schools for a certain number of hours. I know teachers that, goes in the morning at the public school, then in the afternoon they go to the private school. You understand?
How prevalent is it? How widely prevalent is it? You may know a few, but the anecdotal doesn't mean that that's generally what is going on. Yeah. Yes, you do have teachers who in the evening they run their own private classes. It's different from going to teach in a private school. Sure. So let us try to make a distinction here. I'm not sure that is really the case.
Well, for me, I got a fact, and I know that is what is happening.
You didn't hear my question. I can finish teaching in the public school, then I have my private classes that people pay me money and I take them private studies. That's what we used to call it. Is that what they do?
No, it's a different thing. This is
what do they do?
This is a school. From the public school, you've closed at 1 o'clock. Then you go for your afternoon classes.
So I'm asking you, are you speaking about a single school?
Like two individuals.
You know how many schools there are in the Gambia? Yeah.
So what is giving us it's not happening at other areas too.
It might.
It might be happening.
But also, I think...
See, you're missing the point. I think the private schools is not simply the teachers. Administration. Yeah. How well is it being run?
That's what I'm talking about. That's where the issue of pay,
issues.
Pay comes.
It's not just that. It's also a conducive learning environment. It's been shown around the world, if you have smaller classes, you can give better instruction to individuals. If you have 60 in a class, I don't care what kind of genius you are, you cannot give kind of decent level of attention. And also, we're talking about, class sizes. We're talking about a conducive environment for learning. And I'm sorry to say this. When I drove around yesterday, I was saying that I drove around Banjul. Because of Mr. Mboj having attended St. Augustine's, I thought, let me go past St. Augustine's.
St. Augustine's?
That school, and there's another school next to it.
There was Gambia High School and St. Augustine's. Right. And then St. Joseph's.
St. Joseph's, exactly. Right. So I went past all three. And I have to say, they were in a shocking state. They do not, those should have had a complete refurbishment, a repaint job, whatever. They would. I was embarrassed when I walked past them. I thought, oh, you know, this is what we have to send our children to come and learn. It's not a conducive learning environment. Just the ambience of it. I was disappointed, and as I said, I'm sorry I had to name them, but it's the truth.
No, but we complain all the time. So, sort of, our consolation, if you like, is that we went to St. Augustine's High School. This is St. Augustine's Senior Secondary School.
Right.
There's a massive difference.
Yeah.
There's a massive difference when we were there. It was completely different. But afterwards, there was really a certain neglect. You went through a period in this country, we didn't really focus on what we should focus on.
Yes.
The distractions were just too many.
Yes, yes.
You know, we were not on traction for anything. Afterwards, we realized, of course, why we had all those distractions. There was somebody there stealing billions and doing all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So this is it. Everything just plummeted.
Yeah.
All standards, be it the bureaucracy running the country, everything just went nosedive to the bottom of the barrel.
So our regional correspondent is on the line from URR, Samba Kamara. We will talk about the flooding in Fuladu rice fields. You know, here it comes again. I mean, we don't take measures. I mean, year in, year out, we keep having these things. You know, there should be a contingency plan.
No, with rice fields, it's a delicate one. Because,
it's a delicate one.
Because rice fields, to an extent, need a certain amount of flooding.
Of flooding, yes.
But then when it goes beyond what is needed...
Overflooding,
well, this is it.
It's a problem. So we have Mr. Kamara on the line. Good morning, Samba Kamara. How are you?
I'm fine. Morning to you, Balde.
How is your morning and what's happening in URR?
Well, the morning is thankful. We are thankful for the blessed morning. In URR, we are here, and today I would like to tell you about the flood that has consumed the rice fields of Tutukoba and Kotematenda in URR.
Unfortunately. Yeah, so please take us through.
Yes, can
hello?
you?
Come again, Balde.
I said, yes, please, we are listening. You can take us through.
Okay. As rice is the most consumed grain in the Gambia, communities in the Upper River region have wept bitterly for the loss of their rice fields. The flood has swallowed rice fields of Sutukoba and Kosematenda.
Samba, how did you become aware of it? Did somebody contact you and say, this is happening, and then invite you to come and have a look? Because we've seen some quite dramatic pictures on the screen just now. How were you made aware of what had happened?
Yes, we were informed that the flood had swallowed their rice fields, and with the help of our people there, so we were informed.
Okay, so in this particular rice fields, were they saying that this was the first time it had happened, or is this something that has happened before? And if so, how frequently?
Well, this is a repetitive act. You know, it's always repeating itself to the previous years.
How many households affected?
Exactly. How many households been affected by these floods?
Well, to say many households in Sutukoba, almost 250 households were affected as their rice field is not big. They have 14 hectares in their field. But the fact that this situation is always repeating themselves, so many farmers could not participate in the rice field, and they are afraid of the same thing to be happening in Sutukoba. But if you go to Kotema, you find out there you have many people who are participating in the rice field because they planted up to 50 hectares of rice.
Okay.
Bintuba, the assistant of the VDC of Kosematenda, told us that...
Yeah, carry on.
Yes.
Bintuba told us that Bintuba told us that they have more of female cultivated plots in the flooded area than male. She also added that almost 500 families are depending on these rice fields to feed their families.
Okay, so were you able to engage the authorities, maybe the National Disaster Management, you know, maybe Ministry of Agriculture? Were you able to engage them on this disaster?
Well, the governor of URR was present, and he assured them that he will knock on necessary doors, make sure that they have the required attendance to supplement to their cries.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you, Mr. Kamara, for talking to us on QTV this morning, and we are looking forward to more engagements in the future.
Thank you, Banky.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Samba.
Our regional correspondent there, Samba Kamara, in URR. Yeah. Well, it is for me. He said the governor said they will knock on all doors. I wonder the time they will be knocking the doors until when they are open. These people would be dying by then.
No,
so
it means
you know,
NDMA and
yes, we should have plans for these things. I mean, we should have plans that are in place for this kind of incidents. Don't you think, Mr. Mboch?
I'm sure they will tell you that they do have plans. I don't think it's about having plans. It's about implementation, having the resources, the right preparation. I wonder, was this forecast?
He said it's repetitive.
It is repetitive. That is quite interesting. I was going to ask him, well, when it happened last year, what happened?
What did they do?
You know what I mean?
And why did they plant there again?
It. So where can they go? Where can they get redress? What needs to be done? You know what I mean? Asking the right critical questions and seeing how, you know, one can resolve this. But when it's repetitive, you keep wondering, the structures we have in place are not effective. If these problems are repeating, then the structures in place are not effective. How do we put effective structures in place? What really is the problem?
Yeah.
I do not know.
Because if you have the the governor saying, I will knock on the necessary doors, if it's repetitive, if it's something that happened last year and the year before, which is what I was asking, and how frequent,
I think he cannot keep knocking doors every year.
No, because that's why we needed to know what happened the last time, because if it repeats itself, then you know what happened the last time, what help were they given, and those were the things which.
Well, I think
there's a story.
I'm not an expert when it comes to agriculture, but I think rice fields at some point there should be a particular form of a control mechanism. I mean, to be able to control the amount of water in the rice fields when there is a lot of rains. There is an opening that you can do so that there can be a waterway. It can flow to the other area, maybe somewhere to. I mean. Those are the things that I've seen in Kuntaur, in Kaur. I've seen all those type of methods.
Gambia is cursed because the land is so flat. So unless you kind of elevate the rice fields to an extent where there's somewhere it can drain off, then the water has no natural place that it can flow, because everywhere is just one flat land. And that's what makes it difficult. But you know, what I would be interested to know is if this happens time and time again, why don't they build some kind of, you kind of lay the rice in a way where it's on slightly elevated, part, so that when it does flood, it has a natural way that it can flow off, similar to what I guess Mr. Balde is suggesting. But because they can't keep having the same thing happen time and time again, and then we always talk the thing about you keep making the same mistake and hoping for a different result. Then that's not clever.
Yeah. So Mr. Momodu Mboj, I know we'll treat one more story. Cool. Then we take a leave of you. It's always good to be with you all the time. So President,
I'm not sure about it all the time.
President Barrow presents certificates to outgoing economic troops.
I saw that on the State House web Facebook page. We weren't invited. I don't know why not, but I wasn't aware of it until I saw it on the Facebook page. So yes, it's rotational. It would have been a nice story to do. We could have asked them, what they felt they'd achieved in their time here, and how it had been. But yes, I saw them lots and lots of pictures about.
Well, the Medicine Control Agency warns against use of too degraded drugs. Okay. Again, this is a very sensitive one. We cannot still forget the incident that happened, the AKI incident, the death of over 60 children in the Gambia. May their souls rest in peace. And, you know, anytime we recall this, it brings sadness to our hearts. I mean, it's important for us to be very careful, but it's good that the Medicine Control Agency is telling us to be very careful.
Careful about what?
Of two degraded drugs.
I think degraded.
And the drugs are on the paper. But now, for us to be careful,
a lot of us consumers, we do not.
But does it mean the drug is already circulating?
I think that's why they've issued the warning, because if it wasn't, then they probably wouldn't.
But
we have to be, because you know, we've said this time and time again, in fact almost every week, this is a country where people don't go to their doctor, they go to the pharmacist when they feel sick, whatever it is, you know, which is very unusual if you come from the West. And so you have to trust those people. A lot of people would not look at the packaging, look at the sell-by or use-by date, and then you have to wonder, why are people selling drugs that are degraded with a clear conscience, taking people's money when you know that it's something that should be off the shelves? So I guess the reason they're warning us is that they're probably out there, and people buy drugs from people who don't even have a...
And, you know,
Right now, I would have
I will
expected
tell you something.
the inspectors to be all over the place. I would have expected the inspectors to be on overtime, going all over the place,
tell you
you know, looking at
something,
all these
and
pharmacists.
you need to know this.
Mm.
Allegedly, I discussed with a medical sort of a nurse who operates a pharmacy.
They're sort of a
Yeah,
nurse, or they are a nurse?
Allegedly,
Okay, yeah.
the guy said to me, you know, some of these medicines that are, you know, running to a point whereby it
They're
is
almost expired.
We pack them and we send these medicines to our hospitals. That's what he allegedly said.
They send them from where?
From like they do the packing from their pharmacies, from his pharmacy, another pharmacy.
Right.
These are the medicines they send to our hospitals. You understand? So I don't understand that. You know, at some point it kept me thinking, I mean, almost expired medicine to our hospitals. What are you telling me?
Yeah, there's a reason why they put an expiration date on medicines. It means that beyond that date it's no longer effective, or even close to that date it's lost its effectiveness and they should not be used. So that's quite a scary
Although you have
notion.
medicines that are written best before.
You have best before, you have used by.
Yes.
You have them in all sorts of
Best
stuff.
before.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and both of those dates you should take with caution if you have something that you're using after the best before date, because if it's best before that date, it means it's not so good after that date.
Of course.
You know, so that should be a warning. But as I said, I don't think many people, the first thing they do is look at, maybe we should, you know, look at the date.
Start looking at the date.
On the back, or check from the newspapers, and they should go on the radio and TV and warn people about this if it's a serious
Well, these are things that, you know,
That's it.
we
Because you can
shouldn't take
think, what
lightly.
about the many moms who can
yeah,
read?
yeah,
You know, with their children going to the
That's what I'm
pharmacy.
saying.
That's it. They can read.
Quite.
So really, you need the state institution to be doing a lot more, not just state institution, maybe other institutions that are involved, you know, that are interested, that do advocacy for this sort of thing, health and the like.
You know.
Really, they should be doing a lot more to sensitize
Yeah, there are
people.
things that, you know, we shouldn't
Really.
take lightly as people. I mean, especially when it comes to health and medication. Medication, you know, you take it lightly, it becomes detrimental. Yeah, so Mr. Momodou Mboj, thank you very much for reviewing the papers with us.
Mr. Ibrahim Suri Balde, thank you very much for having me.
Appreciate you all the time. And Mr. Ade, at this point, we'll take a short break. Yes,
Indeed.
after the break, the program is going to continue. We'll be right back.
Introducing the all-new Q Mobile. Rediscover the essence of mobile communication with a device that brings you back to basics: quality, simplicity, and reliability. The Q Mobile is designed to fit seamlessly into your life, offering essential features without the fuss. 72-hour battery life, keeping you connected longer. Listen to news, prayers, or your favorite shows with the FM radio on Q Phone. A built-in torchlight, always ready when you need it, memory card slot for expandable storage, and
and dual SIM capability for flexibility and convenience. Why wait? Step into any of our care centers today and get your hands on the most affordable phone for just $600. Plus, enjoy a bonus package of 300 minutes talk time and 300 SMS spread over 3 months. Absolutely free. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Senior Boss. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Atanong, oro mobile amen keso pura andere Q mobile. Mobile on no yade jamano. Tenon kadi no webi na fitora golmo. Tenon mojogi piji bui. Battery on ko bal etati. FM radio. Lampu. Memory card storage. Ko SIM card ili o jetata pura andrede dual SIM. Dogu joni ya haka customer care center jameng. Soda odo mobile. Teme de jego rek te a heɓay teme tati minitaji ɗi anduɗa a wowlay te non a heɓay kadi ko ɓura andrede teme tati SMS te a yoɓata hay hunde ɓe sendanama ɗum e nder lebbi tati si tawiɗa faala hen ko laaɓi noddu QCell customer care e 111 QCell suñu boss minen udditi laawol ngol si woɓɓe jokki ɗum no yaadi e sartaji.
Felenting a Q-Smart.
Welcome back. You are watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Osuri Balde. Now let's move on to the third segment of this program, and we'll be talking about the Gender Help Desk from the Ministry of Fisheries. And we have a representative from the Ministry of Fisheries.
The coordinator of the Gender Help Desk.
The coordinator.
As Maudou S. Jallo. Yes?
Yeah, so it's good to have you.
Thank you. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, so Mr. Ade, you can take him through.
Yes, indeed. I mean, we covered this story and I was intrigued. How did this Gender Help Desk come to be set up and what's its role exactly?
Thank you. It's an honor to be on this platform. Actually, it came as a result of an initiative which was already in place by the Ministry of Gender. They wanted to make sure gender is mainstream in all the ministries, and they wanted to have gender focal points. There were gender focal points in all these ministries. Right. However, during our work with FAO, EF Nansen program, we were implementing a project called the Shared Sardinella Initiative. So discussions arose as to how to actually mainstream gender in fisheries. So the idea of creating a desk emanated and then it was pursued.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the benefit of some of our viewers who are not English speakers, would you like to choose a local language of your choosing and explain exactly that? Any?
I can speak both Wolof and Mandinka and Pular, any one of them.
Yeah, let's engage him in Wolof.
In Wolof,
it will be important.
Yes, because I think the reason I ask this is that I think, having watched the story, I think a lot of the people who you might be helping
local
probably don't speak or understand
absolutely.
English. So,
absolutely. Yeah, so nañ waxtaan lan mooy njëriñi Gender Help Desk bi nga xam ne moom ngeen taxawal pour liggéey ak ñooñu nga xam ne ñu ngi liggéey si fànn bi.
waaw jërëjëf njëriñ bi mooy maanaam soo seetee suñ réew mi ak suñ askan bi yaa ngi am góor am jigéen ñun tamit si wàllu nappa gi maanaam fisheries si lañ bokka te soo ñëwee si wàllu nappa gi mooy fisheries dafa am ñaari fànn yoo xam ne dañ am solo torop fànn bu njëkk bi mooy nappakat yi maanaam ñi nga xam ne ñooy dem géej soo seetee si nappakat yi ñu si ëppa maanaam mun ngaa wax ne 99% ay góor lañu daanaka góor yi ñoo si ëppa am nañ ay jigéen yoo xam ne dinañ faral di moom ay gaal mais duñ di dem géej loolu moom suñ cosaan bi ak suñ aada yi moo ko teralee noonu waaye soo ñëwee si fànn bu ñuy ooyee post harvest maanaam jën bi su teeree léegi ñi koy defar di ko jaay di ko géeja loolu jigéen yi ñoo si gën a bari waaw léegi ñun suñ bébét bi mooy pour fexe ba nga xam ne jigéen tamit seen taxawaay ñu gën koo dooleel ñu fexe nga xam ne jigéen yi tamit dinañ bokka si wàllu li tubaab bi di wax decision making after as a ministry ñu mun a defar ay policy yoo xam ne dinañ fexe ba jigéen yi tamit seen koom-koom ak seen naataange mu gën a yokku.
waaw loolu am na solo lool lii boo leen ko taxawale ba léegi lan moo nekk comme respond boo leen am si jigéen yi seen boppa
waaw fu mu nekk nii xam nga ñu ngi nekk si first phase bi parce que buñ ko commencé lu njëkk a def mooy dañ def capacity need assessment maanaam ñu seet lan lañ soxla si wàllu xam-xam pour mun a defar gender desk bi buñ defee capacity need assessment boobu ñu doog a def capacity development maanaam jàngale parce que soo seetee desk bi ñi nga xam ne bokk nañ si ministry bi ñu ngi jugee si fànn yu nekk am na si ñoo xam ne man suma boppa scientist la by profession waaye yaa ngi am ñeneen ñu nekk si extension si aquaculture planning ñoom ñëpp bokk nañ si léegi foog nga jàngal ñooñu lan mooy gender nan la ñuy mainstreamé gender so loolu lañ njëkk a def léegi buñ paree si loolu ñu door a engage suñ stakeholders yi maanaam ministry of gender yeneen institutions yi buñ defee loolu ba pare ñu mun a ñu together ak ñooñu noonu ñu defar an action plan boo xam ne action plan boobu noonu boobu la ñuy use pour mun a dooleel jigéen yi waaw
exactly Adi
So how wide is this going to be in terms of if people wanted to get in touch, how do they get in touch and across the country?
Yes, actually it's going to be a national thing, and
we're in the first phase now.
Yes, yes. In fact, we are seen as the first country in Africa to do this. Tanzania was supported by FAO to also establish a gender desk, but it was not exactly the same as us. This method is first of its kind. Already there are countries that are showing interest to emulate this type of method, but nationally we intend to work with all the stakeholders. For example, you will realize in the fisheries sector there are many organizations and institutions that are doing great things in gender.
They have lots of initiatives.
Exactly, but the initiatives are not well coordinated, if you like, and this encourages repetition of effort. Okay, so now as a gender desk, we will be like the coordinating body, working with all these institutions.
And you share best practice.
Exactly.
Okay. Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Interesting. I mean, there are other instances where you hear the other gender is left out on certain areas, and fishing. It's among the biggest industries here today.
Of course.
We've invited, the women from Tangier. They were here, and it's one of the constraints that they are facing when it comes to the work they do. How do you think this will bring about change in that sector?
Thank you. When the day we did the launching, something interesting happened. We had this expert from Rome. Her name is Jennifer. We were having a meeting after the launching with the gender desk. So we were identifying the constraints women are facing. And one of the main constraint was the triple role of women, meaning you have to do the chores, you have to take care of the kids, take them to school, and still
you have to go to
the landing site.
Yes.
And you would realize sometimes the boats will have to land late, and then the women will have to wait, or sometimes they cannot wait, they have to go and cook dinner. So she did an exercise. We are the gender desk now, we are the ones that are going to implement. She said, I want you to write down the things you do when you go home.
Right.
I mean, you as a person.
Yes, right.
So when we did this exercise, almost everybody said, when I go home, I take shower, I sit down, my wife brings my lunch to me. And then you realize that what you are advocating for is something that
you are not living.
Exactly. You are not living, exactly.
You see? So the most important thing for a start is going to be to create awareness.
Yes.
It's not to sort of resist the existing norms, but just to create awareness so that the people that are involved within the sector will realize some of the practices I wouldn't like to say baseless, but are changeable for better ones.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what are your challenges?
Yes, first of all, this is a new initiative, of course, and everything we are learning as we go. So we are not prepared for some of the things that we face. However, we are since we have come to this stage, we are hopeful that but then in order to implement this type of activities, you need support. I mean financial support, because you need to reach out to the people. You need to organize activities, trainings, a lot of trainings, and you have to do a lot of data collection, and to be able to know what obtains on.
Because I was going to ask about that. How do you get the data in order to be able to make an impact, the sort of impact that you want to? Is there a team that's linked to the gender desk? It's not just a phone number. What's the team, and what is the outreach in terms of getting data and so on?
We, as a ministry, we have staff at various landing sites. Already, UNFPA is working with us through those staff to collect data.
Right.
So we will want to collaborate with them to make sure we will not collect the same data that they are collecting. So there will be some kind of data sharing. And we will also use the same staff to do data collection for us in the field.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that involve them having particular equipment, maybe a pad or something?
Exactly.
Because these days we do all of this kind of electronically. We don't write stuff down.
Yes.
So I guess when Balde was talking about constraints, are they fully and properly equipped to be able to do the work that we expect them to do?
At the moment, not entirely.
Okay.
Yes, but we are hopeful that as we start implementing some of these activities, and we also intend to use the already existing infrastructure.
Right.
For example, they are the same staff that are collecting data, fisheries data, fish landing data for the fisheries ministry, and just to probably install another app or on the same tablet.
So don't reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
It's there already.
Exactly.
Just use what's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Duplication of effort.
Sure.
Yeah. So finally, what do you have to share before we close the segment?
I would like to say that not only in the fisheries sector, but gender is everybody's business, and then it is important for people to play their role to make sure both men and women have equal opportunities in all sectors, and we want to make sure, because when you look at it, each of us has very important roles. Although the roles may be different, but our roles are equally important. So we need to make sure everyone is provided with the necessary atmosphere, necessary environment and support to function fully, and not to be restricted by your gender or your race or whatever.
I think, and you guys need to thank Jennifer for getting you to do that exercise, because it gives you food for thought. It makes you think about things that we've done, and we think, maybe we need to change this. Maybe there needs to be a change. How do we implement that change?
Thank you.
So
I would like to thank our partners, the FAO. They supported this process from the beginning, from the capacity need assessment, the capacity development. There were trainings conducted for almost a year, both online and presentals. So that was really helpful in making this a reality, and the EU also supported in launching the desk through the EU sector support program. So we are grateful to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
coming,
coming, MS, and we are looking forward to engaging you more in the future.
Because we'll be interested to see how this succeeds, and we wish it every success.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So at this point, we'll take a short break. After the break, then we'll have a sport wall with Momodu Gajaga. We'll be back.
It's happy time. Get 50% off all calls to any network. Enjoy calls every day to any network from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Is it too good to be true? QCell. We innovate, others follow. As the fastest growing GSM company in the Gambia, QCell has the widest 4G plus coverage in the country, 3 times faster internet speed than our competitors. So switch now and dial *335# and enjoy what true 4G feels like. QCell, the Gambia's trusted network. QCell, the fastest growing network in the Gambia, now presents to you the eSIM. QCell's eSIM allows you to electronically scan a code and join the world of digital SIM. Customers with physical SIMs can easily switch to the eSIM as well. So rush now and get connected with an eSIM and start using the latest mobile technology with your trusted GSM operator. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunibus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Get a QCell SIM card for free. Yes, absolutely free. Walk into any of our customer care centers and get a SIM free of charge. With a QCell SIM card, you can get the fastest and the most reliable internet plus wide range of amazing services. So rush now to any of our care centers and get a free SIM now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell Sunibus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Have you been looking for the perfect indoor router with long-range Wi-Fi coverage and faster internet speed connecting all your smart devices? Well, we present to you the QCell Indoor Router, a router that has all you need and much more. For just $4,275, you can get 4G plus internet speed, wide coverage, and connect up to 15 devices. That's not all. The indoor router can be used for both office and home needs. So, enhance your internet experience with our indoor router. For more info, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunibus, we know.
We are back. This is QTV This Morning. I am Ibrahim Asuri Balde. Now let's move to the last segment of this program, and we will talk about football and sports in general. We have Momodu Gajaga with us. Momodu Gajaga, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Balde.
How was your weekend?
Fantastic. Enjoyed every bit of it.
I will hold you to that. You said football and sports in general. I hope I will hear general sports and not just football.
I realized that.
Okay.
I realized that.
Yes, definitely. Yes. And unfortunately, it's all football.
It's all football.
Yes, beautiful, Balde. So it always feels great to be here, especially talking about the game that we love most. That's football. And what a better way to start with your national team, the Scorpions. The coach, Jonathan McKinstry, has unveiled his squad last Thursday at the Gambia Football Federation. We call it Football House. We were there as journalists to hear from him. What's his squad? Who are available, those who are out, what are the injuries, and also how prepared is he for the Madagascar game. You know, he's going to play against Madagascar twice within a 4-day period. It's going to be on Friday and as well as on Monday, next Friday and next Monday. And both matches will be played in Morocco. That's our new home, away from home. And for the coach, he talked about so many things. But first, let's have a listen to what he had to say at that press conference.
Cleaner around the penalty box. There's no doubt.
Scorpions head coach Jonathan McKinstry has chosen a 23-man squad to face Madagascar in the upcoming 2-legged 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers in Morocco on October 11th and 14th. Souley Camara of Racing Santander is added to the squad for the first time, and Mohamed Badamosi, Mahmoudou Bajo and Jacob Mendy, who missed the previous selections against Tunisia, returned. Scorpions regular Ibrahim Okoli, who plays for Young Boys in Switzerland, and also played 73 minutes against Barcelona in the Champions League on Tuesday, is missing this time. Coach McKinstry explains.
So it's very simple for Ibrahima. I was actually at the Young Boys Barcelona game a couple of days ago, and Ibrahima and I have been speaking over the last week or two. Basically, Ibrahima has requested to not be considered for this camp alone because he has some personal issues that he really needs to attend to. And even speaking with his club Young Boys, they're aware of that. I'm not going to go into deeper context on them because personal things are personal things.
Under Jonathan McKinstry, the Scorpions have played some exciting football and created a lot of goal-scoring chances without capitalizing on them. The team has also displayed a tendency to concede from set pieces, such as free kicks and corners. They have been poor defensively in recent matches, especially in aerial duels. The coach acknowledges the weakness.
But we need to be cleaner around the penalty box. There's no doubt about that. You know, we're creating a lot of chances. You know, our passes into the final third, our box entries, our expected goals are all a lot higher than they've been over recent years. Defensively, we've got to tidy up on set pieces. But it's interesting because in the two camps we've done so far, it's been two different issues in set pieces. Because in the first camp, the issue was defending crosses, which we worked on a bit in the second camp in the short time, and actually that was not an issue at all from set pieces against Comoros or Tunisia from corners and from wide delivery free kicks. We were pretty comfortable.
Some young players like Mahmoudou Bajo and Abdoulaye Cisse, who are in fine form at their clubs, are yet to get a chance under McKinstry. What would it take for youngsters to break into the team in a competition?
So when you have someone like Abdoulaye Cisse who comes into the national team, we were really pleased with him in the last camp. But he still is evolving and developing that connection with the teammates around him. Historically, for me, players who come to their very first national team camp don't usually get lots of minutes. Sometimes they do if they're a really high quality player, if they turn up and hey, they have a 10 out of 10 week and they're just the best player in the training sessions, then yes, they get their minutes.
Yeah, so we are back. Gajaga, you know, that's a very interesting press conference there by the coach.
Yes, the coach sounding confident, and some of the teething problems that his team has in terms of defense, conceding lots of goals, especially when it comes to set-piece situations from corners and free kicks. It seems to be happening almost in Gambia's every game in the last few matches that we've played. So he said he's going to deal with it, he's going to address it. But the most important thing in football is goal scoring. So his team, his players creates lots of them, the chances, but they fail to capitalize on some of those chances. And if that happens in football, if the opposition gets the opportunity, most of the time you get punished for it. Mr. Ade and I have been watching football for quite some time, but we've seen that a lot. Recently, it happens with our team, Manchester United, create lots of chances, but fails to convert them, and at the end of the day, they concede.
Because they don't have a clinical goal scorer.
A clinical goal scorer.
So, yeah, right now.
And some of the players in their clubs, they've been consistent in terms of goal scoring, and then
in their clubs, but not for Manchester.
But when it comes to the national team, I mean the Gambian players.
Yeah, the Gambia.
Yeah, but when they come to the national team, it's a different thing. But we all know international football is different from club football sometimes.
True.
And when it comes to the form, for you to replicate the same form, it's difficult. But now let's come to the big story.
Okay. What happened to our Steve?
Babacar Steve Traoré had a knee ligament damage injury, which has put him on the sidelines for close to 2 years. I think 1 year, 8 months, he was not playing football. He just started recovering and then started playing recently. Now he's playing in the United Arab Emirates after spending a little bit of time in the Iranian league. He played there for a short spell. Right. Now he's in the UAE league, trying to recuperate at least a little bit because he's been out for a very, very long time. So injuries sometimes, very, very difficult for players. It's challenging.
And previous coach Sanfier had to make do without him for pretty much most of his tenure.
Exactly.
So,
Now to the big story. Yankuba Minteh, the first or the second Gambian player to play in the English Premier League. Now he plays for Brighton Hove Albion, young talent, being purchased by Brighton after he signed for Newcastle, but never played for Newcastle. He was sent out on loan to Feyenoord in the Dutch Eredivisie, where he performed very well. He came into the Premier League, had a good game in the first one, second one struggled, and subsequent matches. In fact, at some point he lost his starting position in the team because of his performance has not been up to that level
but
of
only
expectation.
for a couple of games.
Yes, for a couple of games so far in the
I think
Premier League.
the coach rates him
Yes,
because
high.
you know, when I was on the BBC yesterday and they said the team is about to be announced, the first thing I looked for was whether he will be a starter. And it was an important game.
Yeah.
And he started.
Yeah, he started the game,
Yeah.
and eventually, for the first time, he scored.
Yeah.
Let's watch the goal.
First time cross, really threatening, and it's dropped for Minte, rifled in! Albion have one back. Yankuba Minte's first Albion goal hauls the Seagulls back into the match.
Back into the match, and this is the goal that orchestrated their comeback. They were 2-0 down, and all of a sudden, after Yankuba Minte's goal, they eventually went on
I think
to
he
score.
scored on the 48th minute.
The 48 minutes, just 3 minutes into the second
into
half.
The game, yeah. And,
Yeah.
And it just galvanized his teammates, and they really came back.
Yeah,
And as you
went
said,
on to score 2 further goals, and then 3-2.
3-2
Eventually,
they
won. And it was a home game for them. It would have been kind of disastrous and kind of embarrassing with looking at some of the performances
from
that
the
they have.
home.
Yeah.
Even though they're playing against also another top team in the English Premier League, Tottenham. But Tottenham is a team that is never shy of conceding goals because they play this style of a football called a high line. That's like, you know, pressing high, you know, have lots of spaces behind. And, you know, sometimes when you do that against certain teams who are clinical enough, you got to be punished. But this is a confidence booster, and then I think it will help him from scoring, because even in the Dutch Eredivisie, that's how he started his struggle. He can play well, the passes, dribbles completed and all of that. But when it comes to finishing, to score the goals, he find it very, very difficult. But once he starts scoring, at some point he was very consistent.
Yeah.
And hopefully with this goal, it could give him that opportunity and also to even have more game time, you know, because for the coach, he definitely has trust in him.
The coach trusts him and played him from the very first game.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, wow,
Yeah.
is this guy ready for this? He was.
Yeah.
And he's kind of repaid the faith that the coach had in him with his performances. But, you know, if you're a forward, people judge you by your goals.
Absolutely.
And so now he's got a goal, and he's always been a confident young man, and I think this will just really help.
Well, I think Yankuba Minte is a very good young player,
Excellent player.
it will just it's a matter of time before he, you know, gets to where people are expecting him to be.
Yeah, definitely. He shows glimpses of that, you know. I can tell you, you know, there are rare players who has that pace that he has, acceleration. And also when it comes to dribble, few players can dribble past
and
oppositions.
for a player to have both is very rare.
Very rare.
You have some who they have one but not the other.
Not the other,
But he has both. He has the speed and he has the dribbling ability.
Then he stood a better chance. I mean,
it's an excellent chance, and I suspect, you know, if he has an excellent season, as we hope he will, Brighton will be struggling to hold on to him next season, because I think the big boys will come and they'll wave some money at Brighton
and snatch him away.
With Brighton have become known for that in recent years, but they always seem to find.
So you are throwing stones. Who are the big boys? I want it to be clear.
There's many. I mean, everything from Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United,
not
Man
Manchester.
City.
Someone said not Manchester at all. Someone said don't mention Manchester.
Oh, well, let me give you an example. Manchester United played. By the way, if anybody watching outside, when somebody in Gambia says Manchester, they mean Manchester United, in case you're wondering. But they played Porto, and Diogo Costa, the Porto goalkeeper, was interviewed by the BBC, and he said, you know, Manchester United are not playing particularly well right now. You know, what do you have to say? And he said, yes, they might not be playing right now, he said, but everybody in Portugal and probably the whole world knows that Manchester United are the biggest team in England. So even though they haven't won anything big recently, in terms of support base and so on, they still have that. But the team's been playing rubbish recently, we have to be honest. I mean, they've been dreadful recently. So
Gajaga, any other thing?
Yeah, I think that's it for now. I'm looking forward to the Gambia games on Friday and Monday.
Well, I did have a question, which is about the other Gambian players. Alassana Jatta, they lost, Notts County. And I just wondered if you've been keeping an eye on the Gambian players around the world and how they did over this weekend in terms of, you know,
yeah.
going.
So that brings me to, in fact, you're reminding me, Musa Barrow scored again for Al Tawun. They won 2-0 in the Saudi Pro League. Yeah. And as well, Aliou Fadera, who's been in phenomenal form for Como, even though they lost. Yeah, but he had a good performance and then, you know, was later substituted after he played around 72 minutes in their last game. So
sorry,
I think...
Jatta, is it St Johnston?
Alassane Jatta is Notts County.
Notts County.
Yeah, the oldest football club.
That's right, yes. World's oldest football club, yes. They lost.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you, Momodu Gajaga, for updating us on the sports world. And we hope we will engage you more in the future.
Looking forward to more of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ade.
Hey, pleasure, as always.
For
being
here for the show. And viewers, thank you very much for following this program, and enjoy the rest of our program. We'll be back here tomorrow, inshallah. Until we come here again, have a wonderful day.